think Novak's notoriously late, so we'll just wait until he's online. I mean, Nick Kyrgios is I mean, what it must be. I think we're looking at about 3, 4 in the morning in Australia. So I'm assuming he's up drinking to be up at that time. But yeah, who knows? You're in bed, Nick. Okay, that's good. That's progress for you. Normally, you're out on the town at this time. Oh dear. Right, come on, Novak. Where are you? Okay. All right, I think that's there. He is.
Please accept me.
Made it. I got you. I got you. How you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, just yeah, kind of doing what most people are doing just now, and yeah, not up to a whole lot. What about you? Where are you just now?
Yeah, I'm in Spain at the moment, and nice weather. Um, can't go to the beach. We can't hike really what we like to do, but we can't complain. Obviously, there's a lot more people around Europe, especially in states that are struggling being in apartment. We have a house with a nice garden. Kids can go around, so we're very fortunate and grateful
Yeah.
to be in this position. Obviously, it's it's tough being in Spain, which is next to Italy, probably the country that goes through the hardest time at the moment. So we have been now, I think it's sixth week in 24/7 quarantine lockdown.
Yeah.
It's honestly, as a tennis player, it's really weird to be in one place more
Yeah.
than 5, 6 weeks, as you know. I mean, I have not experienced that probably for 15 years.
Yeah.
So, but I'm happy because I'm with my kids. I'm really glad to be with the family.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the one thing for me that's been like, yeah, it's been nice. Like, I've got to see my kids like do things for the first time that usually when we're away traveling and stuff, like you miss. Like, I saw my kids going out cycling on their own for the first time and swimming on their own for the first time and stuff like that. So it's actually been nice to see lots of those things. But yeah, the trying to teach them stuff is difficult. It's not easy. They don't always want to listen to their parents. So yeah, that's been
So
challenging.
who
But
is
it's good.
more patient, Kim or you?
Me, 100% more
Really?
patient. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Kim's great with the kids, but yeah, I mean, I think I've got more patience. Yeah, for sure.
It's funny with us in our family. I think that's divided. I think in terms of physical activity, um, when it comes to that part of the development of our children, where I feel like it's more of kind of my role to be kind of leading that out of the two parents. I feel like I have I feel more comfortable in that situation. So I feel probably slightly more patient, but in anything else, it's Jelena. You know, she's definitely more patient. But I'm also learning. You know, as I told you previously, I feel like it's so weird for a tennis player to be in a full lockdown for so long. So I'm really getting to know myself as a father and as a husband on a level that I have not had a chance to experience for the last 5 years that I've been a father. I don't know. How did you feel? Did you feel anything similar, like when you unfortunately got injured and didn't travel as much?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. That was like, yeah, it's difficult in lots of ways, like, because you sort of are, I guess you're learning a kind of new way of living, because you're so used to the traveling and the structure and everything that the tour kind of brings. And then obviously, you know, you get injured, or with what's happening just now, and you're at home all of the time, you know, with your family. It's, you know, it's a big change, but like the positives certainly kind of outweighed the negatives. Like, you know, I kind of realized that if, like, once tennis is done for me, like, you know, I'll be just fine. I was always worried about what that might look like and what that would be like, kind of just being in one place all the time. But I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah, I watched your documentary on was it on Amazon or net? Yeah, and that really, you know, kind of strike me in a way. You know, the your, I mean, first of all, huge respect for you, you know, trying to come back after everything that you've been through in the last 3-4 years. And as someone that has been through a major injury, but, you know, I've been fortunate that there has been only one actual major injury for me, which was the surgery of the elbow that I had in beginning of 2018. And I was absent from the tour for 6 months. And it was really hard to kind of get off that adrenaline rush, you know, because I think tennis players, you know, for sure, all the athletes in general, because that's kind of a nature of our of what we do as athletes. We're constantly like high on energy. We need competition. We need to, you know, challenge ourselves in every area of life in a way, because if you feel like you're still in your professional career, and as long as the season is on, and for us it's the longest season of all sports, right, from January to like mid-November, you feel like you can never really fully relax. You know, you feel like you of course we all have ways to balance ourselves, and of course you need to figure out a way to relax every single day, because otherwise you'll burn out. But you never really fully relax. And when I took those 6 months, it was the first time that I skipped the slam ever since I became a professional player. Yeah. And it was really I was not feeling any unease. I was feeling actually happy to be at home, happy to do some other things that are always kind of waiting to be addressed, maybe because there's never really time or energy really to think about some other things or do other things. And at that time, actually, Jelena was pregnant with our second child, so it was a perfect time for me to be at home. But you know, going through the injuries and trying to kind of bounce back and find that motivation again, I don't know. For me, I would like to hear from you, because for me it was never really a problem to be motivated. And I must say that I probably thought that I will deal mentally and emotionally better with the competition once I'm back from injury than it actually was. I felt like I was very confident in myself. I was like, well, you know, I'm fine. I'm gonna, you know, practice for whatever weeks, and I'm gonna be okay. It's, you know, nothing that I'm not familiar with, right? But once I stepped on the court, it took me probably about 4 or 5 months to really start playing the way I wanted to play. So how it was for you when you came back first from like a long absence from the tour?
Yeah, I mean, I had two injuries. One was my back in 2013, where I had the operation, and I was out kind of 3 or 4 months, and then obviously the hip has kind of been the last couple of years on and off. And yeah, I think like you say, it's the psychological side of it is is the toughest part in many ways to come back from, like being away from the competition for a long period of time. You sort of you lose something a little bit. You lose a little bit of an edge that you need to. I feel like you need to kind of work to get back, and I don't know. I don't know. You lose a little bit of your I don't know, aura or whatever. Like, because maybe people see you coming back from an injury. There's a sign of weakness there, so you need to kind of build that back up again by winning matches and stuff. But yeah,
It's true.
that the psychological aspect, I think, is kind of sometimes harder than the physical aspect coming back from injuries, for sure. Yeah, look, I mean, we've got about an hour, don't we, really, to chat just now, and we obviously got like a ton.
We got 20 minutes left, so it's good.
Yeah. we got a ton of questions sent through, and yeah, we'll try and get through kind of as many of them as possible. And I think there was lots of people asking about like our careers kind of against each other, and maybe matches we've played and the first times we played against each other. Maybe we could just chat about that for a little bit.
Sure, of course.
I mean, do you remember much about when we first played? I would have been, well, what, we were like 11?
Yes, I think we were 11. It was France. I think my memories from when we first met each other were probably significantly different from your memories.
I only remember the score. I don't remember.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You kicked my ass, man. You blew me off the court. I won a game or 2 games, I think.
Yeah.
Like 6-1, 6-love or something like this.
And it was on like one of those old school, like it was on a singles court, right? Like I remember seeing like no doubles lines and stuff. But yeah, it was in France. But yeah, I don't remember loads about the match. But yeah, just
was that was my first international tournament ever. Was that your first, or you played probably?
It would have been one of the first ones. Yeah, it would have been. It's a great tournament that's still going just now in Tarbes.
Yes.
But, yeah, I lost. I ended up losing in the final of the tournament, and I had a match point, sudden death deuce, drive volley to win, and I missed it and completely capitulated after I lost the match point. So
I think you're forgiven. And an 11-year-old drive volley, I think you were not really expected to make that one a winner.
Still hurts. So.
I still can't make it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
No, that was I mean, huge respect for Tarbes and everyone involved in that organization of that tournament, because it's definitely one of the most famous under 12 junior tournaments in Europe and in the world. I mean, I know that Del Potro played it, Gasquet, Nadal played it. I mean, a whole bunch of guys. I mean, I think anyone who really wanted to compete like in junior days internationally has played that tournament. It's really, really nice tournament.
Yeah, it is brilliant. You get great crowds, don't they, as well?
Yeah.
To watch. It's nice, to get that, at such a young age is pretty cool.
Do you have the tape from any of your matches from Tarbes or no?
I have seen them, but I don't have them on me. But I think my mum's got a couple of them. But
please, if you find a tape from our match, delete it. Thank you. I still have not. I would love to see it, because I've seen actually, I think on Instagram, Nadal, Gasquet.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I've seen. Yeah, you see little clips of them sometimes on Instagram, and yeah, it's funny. Like a lot of the mannerisms and stuff, like even then was kind of
exactly. Both Rafa and Richard are. I mean, they're kind of like exactly the mannerism, the way they look, the way they play. It's copy paste. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I know. What one of the questions that people were asking was what did we feel was the best match that we played against each other? It'd be interesting to know from your perspective and see if we have similar views on it, because obviously, I don't know, sometimes you feel like you're playing great when you're winning, maybe not always like the matches that you lose.
Yeah. Well, the first couple of matches that come to my mind are the semifinals of Australian Open in 2012.
Yeah.
The one that lasted 5 hours almost.
Yeah.
That's
the same match that I've got.
Yeah.
Written down. Yeah, it was like 7-5 in the fifth. And for me, for me, that was, even though I lost, I think that was probably the best match we played. Probably.
I think you had a break point or something in fifth, like late in the fifth.
Yeah, it was a 5-all. It was an unbelievable rally.
And it was one of the regular rallies we had, like around 57 times.
Yeah. But I would say that was. Yeah, I would agree with that. What other one were you thinking?
I think I felt like I played well, although you beat me in Olympic Games in London on grass in Wimbledon 2012 in semis. It was 7-5, 7-5, I think. I still feel like we both played pretty well. I felt like the quality of the match was pretty good. You were just better in the decisive moments on both sets, but I felt like in terms of the quality of tennis, that was actually one of the matches that I felt like of course I was devastated when I lost because it was Olympic Games and everything, but I was happy with the way I played because I played well throughout the entire tournament, and then you ended up winning for the gold medal, and you played. I mean, you played the whole tournament. You played fantastic. It was probably one of the best matches you ever played against Roger in the finals, right? I mean,
yeah, for me, the final for sure. It's interesting because my coach actually at the time, Danny Valverde, he had messaged me the other day because he'd seen some clips of that match in the Olympics on Instagram, and he said to me, like, it looked like it was a great match, and my memory of it was that it was like not that good. My memory was that the conditions were really difficult. It was pretty windy.
True.
But he said that wasn't the case and that it was good. But it's quite interesting sometimes, like how, I don't know.
That's how good you were. That's how good you were.
That was
kind of an average match for you.
Yeah, at that time, yeah. But yeah, it's weird that sometimes obviously you come off the court and tennis players always talk a lot about how they felt like in the match, but actually it's not always the reality, of what was going on. But
Did you I mean, we've known each other for a long time and we talked about this obviously, by the way, it's really, I'm really happy to have this kind of live and this kind of chat with you, because I don't feel like we've had many of these chats throughout the years. We did have, when we practiced with each other and we would chat and so forth, we always had a really good relationship. But I think because of the rivalry and because of everything, we just couldn't be too close, I guess, and kind of share a lot of things. But it's interesting to kind of reflect and go back in time on how we have observed and how we have felt about certain matches. And I know that we are quite similar mentally in terms of being perfectionists and always like looking for an edge, always looking to improve. At times, like a lot of times, not really being satisfied, as you mentioned, like after a match that was semis of Olympic Games, you won in straight sets, you were still not really kind of pleased with the quality of tennis. Many times it happens to me as well. So my question to you is, do you really think that psychologically it's a positive thing that you are not pleased with the way you played after winning, let's say, a big tournament or a big match like that? Or you see it as something maybe less positive? How do you perceive that?
So I would say that it's really important, like even after a big win, to like be not to just be critical of yourself for the sake of it, but to, if there's something you felt on the court that could be better, to actually voice that with your team and the people that are working with you. Because sometimes, I don't know, sometimes in those moments things can get missed as well, like because everyone's so excited and elated and happy that you've actually won an event, that you can sometimes miss the things that actually you could do better as well. But yeah, I think that at the same time, like, it's something like, looking back with the issues I've had the last couple of years, I do wish that I'd enjoyed those moments more, because when you see that maybe the end is coming, you realize, like, shit, I should have enjoyed, like, the wins and the, big matches, or, even some of the ones that you lost as well, that were great matches, to try and, get some enjoyment out of them, because for sure we'll miss it when it's not there anymore. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's important to be critical of yourself even in, like, good moments, but you need to try and enjoy the wins. I wish I'd done that a bit better, for sure.
Yeah, that's what they say, like, being kind of constructively, positively critical of yourself actually helps you find that extra motivation you need to kind of go out there on the court and constantly strive to improve your game, develop your game, keep on going regardless of the result, regardless of the, so to say, the end of the journey. It's the journey that matters more than the actual goal, right? When you reach the destination. And I really resonate with that kind of philosophy in tennis and also in life. But you're right. We both agree that the journey is more important than the destination. Destination is something that obviously determines a lot the journey and how it's going to go. And it obviously, I believe that setting up, like, clear short-term and long-term goals are very important.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you mentioned something very, very important, I think, there, where you said, like, you wish that you have probably enjoyed more certain moments in your career. And I feel exactly the same. I think, because of the nature of our sport, because the season is so long, and because we're constantly in a high intensity focus in every aspect of our being, we just, it's hard to kind of, like, sit down, be present, and be fully immersed in whatever experience that you are having at the moment.
But I think that the thing that's, like you said, because of the way our sport is, the thing that makes it hard is, let's say, for example, and I know you've won it a number of times, but, like, you win the tournament in Canada, in the Masters Series in Canada on Sunday. You don't have time in many ways to enjoy it, because immediately your mind is already straight on to the following week. And, I don't know, if you go out partying that night and get hammered drunk, you're competing on Tuesday, Wednesday, the following week, in Cincinnati, in another country, at another tournament. And it's, I think because of the guys at the top of the game, you Novak and Rafa, like, I don't think people always appreciate how difficult that is, to just go, like, from a Sunday final, traveling to another country, new conditions and everything, and you're straight into, there's a lot of pressure, as well on the guys at the top of the game to keep winning all of the time. So it is difficult, and I think that's one of the reasons why maybe you don't always enjoy the wins as much as you would like, because you don't have the opportunity, because there's not a week in between. Sometimes you're going straight on to the next tournament.
You're absolutely right. There is a constant demand from you. Like, you gave a great example. I wanted to ask you, like, what was the hardest transition for you, and what is the hardest transition to you, in terms of, like, you mentioned Canada, Cincinnati, obviously, if you play Sunday there, you got to move to, quite different conditions. Actually, I don't know if you feel the same, but the ball bounce in a day match in Cincinnati is like playing on clay.
Yeah.
you know, somewhere where it's super warm in say Madrid or whatever, I always struggled with a very high bounce there during the day. So what were the transitions from a tournament to tournament in a very short period of time for you that you found the hardest?
Anything that involved clay was difficult for me. And actually, I find for me the hardest transition is going from indoors to outdoors.
Yeah.
I find that really hard. So like, I don't know. So even sometimes playing a match in like in Australia, for example, at the US Open, like with the roof closed, and then the following day going out to practice, without a roof, with it open, I find difficult. And like that period, like of indoor tournaments, sometimes if I played indoors post Australia for a little while, and then going outdoors more sometimes in the in the surfaces. Obviously, going from Madrid to Rome and stuff with the altitude back to sea level is tough. But yeah, I've always found indoors to outdoors the hardest. Going from outdoors to indoors, no problem, but indoors to outdoors, tricky.
What was the most challenging transition that you had to do? Like, for example, I remember one year I played finals of US Open. I think it was 2013 against Rafa. Played like four tough sets. And then I had to play on Friday, the Davis Cup semifinals in Belgrade, Serbia, indoor clay, against, it was Canada, I think. So like, I remember the next day I was flying, I had a night flight, and I arrived in Serbia eventually like Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
And I played Friday at like noon.
Yeah.
Already completely different conditions. But I remember the next day after the finals that like finished, I think around 11 p.m. I practiced outdoors on clay. And it was okay because it was still outdoor to outdoor. Yes, different surface. But then when I arrived in Serbia, I had one practice session literally on Thursday of 2 hours indoors. And I remember it was very challenging. I mean, to say at least. What did you have any particular similar situations like that?
I tried. It was actually the year, so it was 2012 after the Olympics. I won the Olympics on Sunday, and then I probably stupidly decided to try and play in Canada. I can't remember if I played on the Tuesday or Wednesday on hard courts, and after playing on the grass, which is obviously pretty forgiving on the body, to then trying to play on the hard courts with like 1 day preparation was a mistake. And I ended up playing my first round match, and I told my team, like, I was exhausted, I felt terrible, and I ended up pulling out. But that was for me, that was probably a tricky one.
I remember seeing you because I lost to you in Olympics in London in semis, and I played. Well, actually, I played for third place against Del Potro the same day you played finals. So I did travel as well to Canada.
Yeah.
So I think we might have traveled actually. No, you traveled probably the next day because I left the right that evening or the next day, and you stayed for the press and everything and celebrations. And then you came over, so you literally came like less than 24 hours before you played a match. Yeah. I remember watching you play. It was. It was painful for me watching.
Yeah, it was a mistake for sure.
Yeah, but I guess we learn from mistakes.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, like, if you could go back and change one result in your career, which one would you choose?
I think it would be related to Olympic Games. So maybe the match that I played against you in London,
okay.
or Rafa in Beijing, 2008.
Was that in the semis?
Yeah, I lost semis, like also very close. I was like, it was 3-all, 4-all. I had something like 15-30, 15-40 or something like that. And I lost like, I think 6-4 or 7-5 in the third. I missed an overhead, very easy overhead, which is quite typical of me
That one.
throughout my career.
I think I've seen that one a couple of times.
You've seen that? Let me tell you. US Open Finals 2000 and when did you win against me in the finals? 2012. 12. Set point, second set. Was one you were set up and set point, second set. I was at the net. You gave me one of your famous lobs that hit the satellite and came back. And
it was very windy that day, to be fair. So
thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I feel better now, but it's still a lousy overhead miss. So I think I would say Olympic Games, because I mean, I for sure, I mean, I was very fortunate to have the great success in my career and win all 4 slams, and an all master series. But I did win bronze in Beijing, but I was really feeling good about myself. For example, in 16, in Brazil, in Rio. Yeah. And
you had a tough draw there, to be fair.
Del Potro that went on to play with you in finals. It was a very tough match, 2 tie breaks. And I remember 2 days before the match, I was practicing and I was feeling great. I mean, I did lose 3rd round of Wimbledon, so I had enough time to get ready. I won Canada, and I came to Rio full of confidence. It was probably, I had like 15 best months of my career behind me before Rio. And then I remember I was practicing for 2 hours on the center court singles. And then I went on with Serbian guys to practice for another like hour and a half doubles.
Yeah.
And I start to feel my wrist at the end of the doubles sets that we played.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's just, I'm tired. That's all, and it started to be more painful. And I don't want this to sound like an excuse, but that's because of that I lost to the Potro. It was absolutely not. I mean, I was enabled. I did get some injections, and I had to go out on the court and like try. But I felt really sad that I wasn't at my best, and I had a really tough draw. I felt like if I had maybe slightly better draw, that I could kind of work my way in the tournament. So probably, yes, I would, if I had a chance to turn back the time and maybe change the outcomes, would be probably Rio or London with you in 12.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you?
It's a match against you. Which one do you think?
Well, it must be Australian Open.
No, actually not. No.
Roland Garros?
Yeah.
Roland Garros, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I could change one result, because I obviously I would have loved to have won the Australian Open or the French Open, but I think like as a challenge for me, because clay was such the tough surface for me throughout like my career, and just in terms of the way that I played like on clay, it was the hardest one for me to adapt to. That I think that would have been like for me my biggest achievement if I'd managed to win the French. Obviously Australia's been pretty painful thanks to you over the years, but yeah, if I could change one, I'd take the French Open off you. And obviously for you, that was obviously for you to win. Well, that was the first time you won the French, right? So
yeah, that was the only time, exactly.
Yeah.
That was the only time. And then probably after the Olympics matches, I would probably, if I had a chance, to change the Wawrinka match the year before I played you in the finals. I won against Rafa in quarters. First time I beat him in French Open. And then I felt very good about myself coming into finals against Stan. That was obviously playing great.
That year we played in the semis, right?
Yes, you remember we played like 2 days.
I was pissed, yeah, because I was starting to play well. I think, when did we get stopped? Was it the end of the third?
Exactly.
It was the end of the third set, and then I won the fourth set.
Exactly.
But yeah. I was starting to feel good at the end of the third set. Yeah, we got stopped for light, didn't we?
Exactly. Well, the conditions, I must say, they were more favorable for me the first day we played, because it was going like towards the end of the day.
Yeah.
It was a bit, bit cold and like heavy clay. And I remember I was two sets up, and I think I might have had like a break point in the third or something like this.
At the beginning, yeah,
and you turn it around and you won a third, and then next day it was sunny.
Yeah.
So it was quicker, so you felt better. Yeah, it was a close one. It was definitely a close one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fondest memory, or the biggest highlight I have of that year is not tennis related, is actually Stan's attire. I mean, you remember his shorts the year he won?
Yeah, they were horrific, weren't they?
My God, Stan, if you're watching this, I hope you burned those shorts.
No, they weren't good.
No, but I think he made a really cool joke out of it. Like, he made it like a symbol of his whole tournament and of his whole win. It's like a lucky charm.
Yeah. For sure. He just put a comment with the middle finger up.
There he is.
On the thing.
Stan the man.
Yeah.
But thanks, man. Well, anyway.
Right. I need to ask you this. We've got like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you a question about the GOAT of tennis, because it's something that obviously, like I hear about it all of the time, like in the media. I think I would talk about it like with my friends and like other tennis players and stuff, that it's something that people are like, really, really interested in. I just wanted to know what your take on it is, because I've got some thoughts on it, not necessarily about who the best is, but like how do you ever judge it? Like, what's important to you? Like, what is the most important record in the discussion? What would you say is the most important thing?
Very good question. I think it's combination of I guess slams, I guess the weeks at number one, and obviously the Masters, right? The 1,000 events. But I think we all agree.
What about head to head? What about
and the head to head? Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I think Grand Slams would probably stand out, but it's really hard to say. Even though like I personally am very fortunate that I'm in the conversation, of course, and I'm honored. But at the same time, it's hard to really say greatest of all time, taking the amount of slams you won or tournaments you won or whatever, because I've said this to everybody. I've had this opinion since forever. I don't go into the conversation of comparing generations. I really can't.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. But in reality, all three of the best players are playing in the same generation, and I think that's why it's because I agree completely. I'm sure Borg would have been amazing in this era, and Rafa would have played amazing in Connor's McEnroe time for sure. But the thing that is special about it just now is that you have three guys that are playing at the same time, so you can compare them, because you have, like, I wrote it down, like that you've played 55 times against Rafa and you played 50 times against Roger, and Novak and Roger and Rafa have played 40 times. So you have that many matches between the best players in the biggest tournament, so you don't have to compare the generations. And I think that the best three players are playing just now, but
true.
It's so difficult to, I guess it's difficult to judge it. And obviously we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So we don't know what everyone is going to finish on slam wise and how many matches everyone will have played and won against each other and stuff. But I think also in this conversation, which is maybe different to other sports, is because we have the different surfaces, is that to me right now, you have Rafa's record on clay, nobody competes with. Roger's currently record at Wimbledon is the best, and your record on hard courts is the best. So because we have these different surfaces, it's kind of difficult. And when people ask me, like, what's your toughest match, like, that you would play, like, in your career, who are the hardest guys to play against, I would be like, well, I feel like I'm competing against the best hard court player ever. I've competed against the best clay court player ever and the best grass court player ever. So for me currently right now, it depends on the surface.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously I can't say much more than I already said, you know, because obviously for me, it's hard to really talk about this, even though of course, I'm in the midst of it, and I do, you know, speak with my team, with my friends about it, and it's interesting to hear how, you know, there are people obviously that are close to me are biased, and they're, you know, they're obviously leaning towards me, and then of course people that support Roger, support Rafa, and which is normal. But I think it's just. I think it's good for tennis that we have this kind of conversation, and that we all are competing at the same time, and it's really amazing. And I think we all are not really conscious of all these results, achievements, I would say the proportions or the depth of the conversation in the world of sport. I don't think we are conscious because we're still in the storm, in a way, if you understand what I'm saying. It's like you're still competing. It's hard. I think only when I'm finished with my career that I can step back and observe things from more neutral standpoint, where I can say, okay, this is my opinion about this and that. But for now, what you have said, that you have like three guys that are, you know, dominating on three different surfaces, I think that is what I would agree 100%, and that's all there is right now. What the future brings, you know, for our rivalries, for our sport in general, I don't know. Obviously, we are also not that young anymore. I mean, you have guys like Dominic Thiem and, you know, Tsitsipas and Zverev. These guys, I think they're maturing so quickly, and they're ready. I mean, they're ready to get the Grand Slam titles, and they're very close. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to slams, I think it's, you know, it seems like we, including yourself and the guy who is also on following this, Stan, it's like you turn to another gear, you know what I mean? Like it because I think every next slam that keeps on coming, I feel even more comfortable playing it, and I feel like there is always even a bigger mental or emotional edge over the young guys coming in, because you've played so many times, you have the experience, you know, you're good, you feel good in your own skin. It's really hard that anything really surprises you. So you're ready.
I would have said, like, for me, and from my perspective, like, going into a slam, I always felt different, like, in terms of how I felt mentally and my focus, concentration, everything. Like, ideally you want to have it throughout the whole year in every single match, but the slams always, for me, I don't know, like, I feel like I played my best tennis in them. I don't know why, but always, like, the few days before they start, I go to a different place than maybe before the other events.
The beast mode.
Exactly.
Well, I think because we, you know, most of the players grow up dreaming to win one of the slams and being number one of the world. I think those are the two biggest achievements that you can possibly have in professional tennis. And I think because of the importance that we give to our dreams, because the dreams are there to also inspire us and motivate us, that's why I think the slams are always kind of bringing the best out of us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I'm just going to read a couple of these out before when we'll go on to. There's a few fan questions that we should do. But for anyone who's listening that's interested, you've got Djokovic Nadal head to head is 29-26 for Novak, and Rafa is ahead 9-6 in Grand Slams. Djokovic Federer head to head is 27-1 for Djokovic, 23 for Federer, and Djokovic is 11-6 in Grand Slams. Nadal Federer 24 wins for Rafa, 16 wins for Roger, and 10-4 for Rafa in Grand Slams. Weeks at number one, Federer 310, Djokovic 282, and Nadal 209. So it's quite interesting that in the slams you've got Rafa ahead in both of the head-to-heads, but then in the weeks at number one there's quite a big difference there. So for anyone that's interested, but I am. Yeah. Right, let's go on to some of the fan questions, because this one, it's been popping up on my Instagram the last few days really, about building the perfect player. And I'm going to say you can put yourself in as many times as you want, and you've got serve, return, forehand, backhand, volley, and then I just put like mentality and physical. It should be from this era, because obviously we played against them, so we kind of know. So who would you take? Who are you taking for the serve?
It would be Isner.
Okay.
Or Kyrgios.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say, I would say exactly the same for that. And that if you gave Kyrgios Isner's height, I think he would.
That's why I think. I mean, John obviously has an amazing serve, regardless of his height. But I think obviously his size contributes even more to that. But I think Nick, for his height, I mean, has the best serve that I've played against, that I've seen.
I'd agree with that as well. And I've seen him sometimes, like I practiced with him a couple of times and just warming up, like, you know, he probably hasn't done.
He warms up.
He hadn't done literally nothing like for his shoulder or anything, and he can serve like unbelievable, like no problem. He's got such easy power. So
huge talent.
I love that you said that as well, because a lot of the guys that I chat to about tennis are always like, nah, no way, like it's not Nick, like whatever. But I'm in agreement with you there
for sure.
Okay, return.
I would go with your return, because I feel you know, obviously playing against you on any surface was always a challenge, and but out of the three biggest rivals that I had, Rafa, Roger, and yourself, I found it the hardest to serve against you, because, you know, it just felt like, I mean, everything was coming back. I mean, I guess it's similar feeling from your side when we play each other, and when I look at our matches, and YouTube, and, you know, kind of going back, the highlights is, I mean, even when I don't see highlights, even if I go like point by point, it's so many rallies, because if I win a free point off the first serve against you, like I'm celebrating like I won a set, honestly. So I think your return, definitely, you could read it so well, position, anticipation, you could block it, you could hit it. Yeah, so I'll go with you for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm taking you on the return. Yeah, for the same stuff that you would have said there. Is like, yeah, just difficult to ace, difficult to get 3 points, and also, yeah, it's just rarely missing returns. Like sometimes, you know, I look at like the stats of like returns in play, and it's like over, you know, 93-94% of returns in play, and you know, that's rough. Like most players are kind of in the 70s, so it's
it did help us in our careers, let's say.
Yeah, it did for sure. Forehand.
Oh, forehand, the Thor from Tandil, Del Potro.
Interesting.
I would say, sorry, guys. Yeah, my battery was running low. We're back, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
back, yeah.
So it would be Del Potro. I love the forehand from Fernando Gonzalez. You know.
Okay.
And
For the highlights. For the highlights.
Sorry.
For the highlights. I mean, he was literally just a highlight.
Yeah, but I would go Roger. I would go Roger and Del Potro. Yeah, it was hard to pick one, but
you're only allowed one, so
yeah, I'm only allowed one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Delpo. Let's go Delpo.
Okay, I'm taking Rafa.
Okay.
For the forehand. Yeah, I just feel like the leftiness kind of has helped him, and there may be a small period in his career where the forehand maybe let him down in a couple of matches, but I think very rarely, like in his career, would that have been the shot that would have contributed to him losing matches. So I'm taking Rafa's forehand. Backhand. I'll go first on this one.
Yeah, go.
I'm taking you on the backhand.
Same.
Okay, so on, yeah, and again, obviously, like very few mistakes, able to change direction on both, and I think the one shot that you hit that no one else is able to on hard courts is sliding backhand defensive shot. Basically, I don't know if I've explained that well, but you're sliding off your left leg, so your outside leg, and no one else can do that really. And it means that the court becomes a lot smaller for your opponent, basically, because you're able to recover back into the court quicker, because where I, on that shot, would have to take an extra step to stop, you slide and you're stopping faster. You therefore shrink the court for the opponent. So that is the...
Well, I think I would take you for the backhand. Consistency, same things that you said. I think the fact that you don't miss much, and you make the life of your opponent very difficult, because I feel when I played against you, I just couldn't penetrate through that side. I mean, you were just protecting it so well.
I think you did a pretty good job of that, to be honest. I think you penetrated me pretty well.
I think because because I think maybe it was because of I guess changing the direction. I was feeling like we both were waiting for just the right ball to go down the line. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel we respected each other backhands so much, and we both have a lot of depth. And I think we both did not expect to win the point from like playing cross-court backhands. It did happen, but I think in average, it was more chance to win if I would go like maybe very strong, like flat shot in the middle to your forehand, or trying to open you up to the forehand side, and then eventually move you around and get you to maybe stretch and play a slice, something like that. But I would also like mention Stan's backhand, which I think is amazing, especially on clay and like higher bouncing surfaces. I think the way when he has time, when he's on the ball and he positions himself very well, it's probably the best backhand that is out there. Honestly,
yeah,
like one-handed, especially
like power-wise. Yeah, I mean, he's hitting more winners off that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The way he gets you off the court, like his cross court is like Rafa's forehand. You know, just puts you off the court so well. And I think from the young guy, like from the younger guys, Medvedev, I mean, his backhand backhand reminds me of yours.
It's tricky. It's a tricky backhand. I've practiced with him a few times. It's tricky.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, volley.
I mean, Roger definitely would be there. I think. I mean, he's one of the most complete players ever to play the game. He's who he is. We all know how great he is. What I think is probably a bit underrated. I don't know if people really talked so much about his ability to come up with serve and volley accurate play at the like the most challenging times in the match against us that, you know, are great returners. He never really felt, I think he you know, he was really not intimidated so much by the return. Like he would place, especially on the quicker surfaces, he would disrupt your rhythm because we both have great returns, but we would prefer if a player would stay back, you know what I mean, and we would get into the rally.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so what he does so well, and what he did so well for so many years, is taking away your time. Serve +1, he would be so quickly at the net. And I think he's the quality of his first volley and his positioning at the net is probably underrated. And you know, and I would pick him because there are probably some guys that hit the volley. I don't know, maybe if you just isolate the volley technique itself, maybe, I don't know, guys like, I don't know, Feliciano or somebody. I saw Feliciano is following this.
Yeah, don't mention his name. He'll have a big head if you say anything about his volleys.
I know. Are you playing the virtual tournament?
I am, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so so I think, you know, like somebody like him, but I think Roger, in terms of how well he uses his volley game in the complete picture, so to say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. I think there might be some guys that maybe hit, you know, certain volleys better. So I don't know, might have a better forehand volley or maybe a better backhand volley, but all round that, you know, he's able to, because he has the touch and he has the feel as well, that he's able to hit more volleys better than any of the other guys that are playing just now. And he's one of the few guys that's done it under pressure.
Yeah.
Come up with those shots under pressure a lot. So some of the guys who I think maybe volley very well, I haven't seen them do it in the biggest moments and come up with great shots, which Roger has. So yeah, I think you would have to give volley to Roger. Okay, mental. I think we've got about 10 minutes left, or maybe about 7 minutes. So we'll try and get through.
Yeah, let's go. Mental, Rafa, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, is there like a couple of categories related to mental, emotional, like fighting spirit or something like that?
I mean, I just put down like 7. I just put down mental and then physical.
Okay, so mental for sure, like like everything. Yeah, Rafa. Yeah, because of his, like, I mean, it's obvious his champion's mentality, what he managed to produce over the years on all surfaces, the way he was bouncing back after numerous injuries that he had. I think he was the most injured of any of us, you know, 4. I mean, of course, now you've been off the tour for many years, but I think him, every like second season, he's got something for several months. And he managed to come back and kind of build his game, the resilience that he has on the court, the intensity that he brings. You know, when you see him jumping around before you walk onto the court, it already intimidates you. Like it creates this the challenge in your mind. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going with a gladiator in the arena. I mean, a mental giant and a physical giant. We're going to get to the physical part. I'll probably hand it to him as well. But I always felt like mentally it's between him and Roger for sure. Both of them. It's really hard to. If I have to pick, I'll probably pick Rafa. But it's like very small margins.
Yeah. So I would. Yeah, it's a difficult question, but I would say if I was looking at an entire career and everyone's matches, like every single individual match, I would say consistently that mentally Rafa would have been the strongest. I think there's times where you would have been ahead of him in the mental department, but over the course of an entire career, like even from when he was very young,
Yeah.
You know, he's always been unbelievably strong mentally, even when he was 18, 19 years old, which is pretty rare for most of the young guys coming through, that you would say that it's the mental part that maybe takes the longest for. I don't know if you took some of the younger guys now, is maybe not the tennis, but the mental side that they need to get better. Yeah, I would say that from a young age, he was great in that aspect. Whereas I don't know, you might disagree with this, but maybe for you it came a little bit later on, and has then become a strength of your game, which maybe at the beginning it wasn't.
For sure. No, I agree with you, 100%.
Okay, right. We got like 5 or 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
And right, physical.
So okay, we gave Rafa mental. I would probably say Rafa again, but let's maybe pick another player.
Yeah.
I would say Dominic Thiem.
Yeah.
Or David Ferrer. I'm thinking between the two. I love David Ferrer's fighting spirit. He's physically so fit, hasn't been injured so much, has always been a warrior on the court, someone I respect a lot. Dominic Thiem as well. Let's say I would give David Ferrer an edge there because he's just been longer on the tour. I'm sure, I mean, Dominic is going to last hopefully for many more years, but it's like very, very small difference between the two. But I would say David Ferrer.
Yeah, I would go in terms of physical potential, I would take Monfils.
Oh, Monfils, yeah.
For what he can do physically,
yeah. Sure.
You know, is a joke. It's unreal, the stuff that I've seen him doing. But then, yeah, physically, I would probably, I'm going to take you from the physical side. So yeah, I'm going to take you physically. I mean, because, Jesus, that's not a big bicep.
Listen, I know, man, but you've done that.
I'm changing. Yeah, I'm changing my.
Awesome.
I think we picked a pretty good player there. I think.
Yes.
I think that player would do all right. Okay, now there's a few slightly different questions here. We've literally got a couple of minutes left. One of them is your favorite city or country to play in.
Melbourne would definitely be
right
on top of that list. Melbourne, Monte Carlo, Rome.
Yeah, I would say Melbourne. I always love going there. I enjoy it. People are great. The event's brilliant. I love playing in Melbourne as well, so I'd take that. Okay, if you weren't a tennis player, what career would you choose?
Well, I would probably stay in sports because I come from family of athletes. My dad was playing football and professional skier as well, so I would probably be in sports, even though I do love science.
Okay.
So I do love science, so I probably would love to be a scientist of some kind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've always said footballer. I always fancy myself as a bit of a footballer, but like right now, it'd be pretty cool to be a doctor because you kind of realize what's important in times like this. It'd be nice to actually be able to help other people as well. But
absolutely.
Okay. First 3 things you do when you wake up?
Gratitude and prayer. Couple of like long, deep breaths. Hugging my wife if she's still in bed.
Yeah.
And running to my children.
Nice. For me, too much information, but I go for a pee. First thing for me, and then I'm getting one of my kids out of bed and then feeding my dogs, who are, I think they're here watching.
Oh, nice
thing. So yeah, that's what I'm up to in the morning. And then this is the last question. I think we're literally about to get cut off. Is what's your worst habit? I think like now, because everyone's been in quarantine and stuff with their families, everyone's now picking up on all of the annoying things that we each do. So what have you got?
being late.
Okay.
And probably impatient in some things. Too impatient. Yeah. What about you?
My wife always complains that I always leave the top of the toothpaste.
Oh, I don't like that as well. My wife
Yes,
does that as well.
it's all hard up at the top, you know, like the next morning or whatever. So that, yeah.
I understand. I hear you, Kim. I don't like
yeah,
that at all.
She's been complaining about
That's a good one.
every day. So now I know when I take the lid off, I just leave it off anyway.
That's a good one. Awesome.
Right, I think that's it. We're probably going to get cut off in a minute, but
fantastic.
That was fun. I hope everyone watching enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was good fun.
Phenomenal. It's like a quick 1 hour. I mean, it was a pleasure, Andy. Thank you very much for inviting me. It was really a lot of fun.
That's all right. Well, yeah, and I hope the rest of the quarantine goes okay, and you and your family stay safe.
Thank you. Well, lots of health and love to your family, and let's hopefully see each other on the road very soon.
Yeah, I hope so. All right. See you in a bit.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.